Okay, let's unpack this. We're initiating a precise deep dive into the financial realities powering a major global conflict. And the numbers really demand our full attention. Our focus today, this unprecedented surge in Russia's military personnel costs. We've synthesized new estimates from Russia, that's the analytical platform run by exiled Russian academics reported via the Moscow Times. And we also have supporting data from The Economist. Our mission here is, well, clear and without ambiguity. Dissect these costs, their direct operational implications, the inherent human toll, and the broader strategic outlook. This analysis is for you, the decision maker, the warfighter, the strategic thinker, demanding unyielding, in-depth military insight.
And what's immediately apparent from these figures really is how the sheer scale of the spending defines the strategic objective. It points to the Kremlin's determination to keep waging its war in Ukraine at any cost. Russia's spending on military personnel hit a record 2 trillion rubles. That's about $25.68 billion just in the first half of 2025.
2 trillion in 6 months.
Exactly. And if this expenditure rate holds, total personnel costs are projected to blow past 4 trillion rubles, $51.36 billion by the end of the year.
And put that in context for us. How big is that relative to their overall economy or budget?
Well, that figure would account for roughly 9.5% of all planned federal government spending in 2025. And it represents about 2% of Russia's entire gross domestic product, their GDP.
9.5% of planned federal spending just on personnel. That's significant.
It is. And these figures mark a very significant rise from last year. Personnel expenses are expected to jump by a staggering 1 trillion rubles, $12.84 billion year on year.
So those numbers paint a really stark picture of strategic intent, don't they?
Yeah.
But for someone listening, trying to grasp the full implications, what does committing 9.5% of planned federal spending and 2% of GDP solely to military personnel suggest? What about Russia's capacity for other national priorities or, its long-term economic resilience under such a singular focus?
It signifies a profound reorientation of national resources, a major one. The strategic objective here, it seems, isn't just about winning specific battles. It's about sustaining the capacity to continue the conflict itself.
Just keep the machine running.
Precisely. This level of economic prioritization indicates, severe constraints on other sectors. Think social programs, infrastructure, maybe even non-military industrial development. Diverting such a large chunk of the federal budget to sustain manpower, it speaks volumes about leadership willing to accept these internal trade-offs, all for the military campaign.
Okay, that brings us to the operational realities then. Where is this massive financial commitment actually going on the ground? How does it directly support their force posture and, crucially, their recruitment efforts?
Right. Analyzing the operational breakdown, the funds allocated between January and June give us clear insight. Roughly 400 billion rubles, so $5.14 billion, has been earmarked specifically for enlistment bonuses.
Just to get people signed up.
Exactly. Then an additional 865 billion rubles, that's $11.11 billion, has gone directly to military salaries. And a significant piece, 765 billion rubles, or $9.82 billion, was allocated for payments to families of the dead and wounded.
So bonuses, salaries, and compensation for losses.
Correct. And this uptick in spending directly correlates with the Russian government's strategy. They're offering increasingly attractive financial incentives to replenish the ranks, especially, in the face of these sustained battlefield losses.
And operationally, what's the result?
Operationally, this has resulted in approximately 200,000 new military contracts signed just over the past 6 months. That's a critical metric in their force generation efforts.
Right. And this commercial contract for war concept, highlighted by the Resilience analysts, that seems critical for understanding their operational endurance. They argue it remains a key factor enabling Vladimir Putin to carry out offensive campaigns for a second consecutive year. Can you elaborate maybe on how this contract truly impacts their ability to sustain these campaigns, especially when you consider the reported high losses and, frankly, limited tangible gains in captured territory?
Well, what's fascinating here is that direct correlation between the money, the financial incentive, and generating manpower, even amidst severe attrition. This isn't just about paying soldiers their due. It's a calculated strategy. It seems designed to sidestep broad-scale, potentially unpopular mobilization while still funneling personnel into the grinder.
So using cash to avoid a draft, essentially.
In effect, yes. The contract for war acts as a sort of self-sustaining mechanism. It lets Moscow present a facade of voluntary enlistment while effectively commodifying military service. Security Council Deputy Chairman Dmitry Medvedev recently praised the recruitment pace as quite decent, good. That underscores this pragmatic, if somewhat brutal, approach to forced generation.
Pragmatic is one word for it.
It means they can absorb immense losses, theoretically, and still regenerate combat power, albeit at an increasingly high financial and, of course, human cost.
And that human cost.
Yeah.
You mentioned it, and it's a critical factor for any strategic thinker listening. When we connect these unprecedented financial figures with the grim casualty estimates, a stark operational reality emerges. What does this level of human and financial attrition mean for a nation's long-term strategic capabilities, for internal stability, its ability to project power internationally down the road?
The grim reality is, well, it's stark. According to The Economist's data, Russian battlefield fatalities just between May 1st and July 9th may have hit approximately 31,000. Making it potentially the deadliest stretch of the war so far this year.
31,000 in just over 2 months.
Yes. And overall casualty estimates since the invasion began. They range wildly, but generally from 900,000 up to 1.3 million total casualties. That includes estimates between 190,000 and 350,000 deaths or permanent injuries. These are based on Western intelligence and independent analyses, of course.
Staggering numbers.
Absolutely. And this level of attrition, coupled with the immense financial outlay, we discussed that 9.5% of planned federal spending, 2% of GDP, it signifies a profound and, frankly, dangerous economic prioritization of the war effort. It fundamentally impacts a nation's ability to invest elsewhere. Future capabilities, education, social cohesion.
Long-term consequences.
Exactly. Such sustained losses and economic strain will inevitably diminish long-term strategic capabilities, and it will certainly complicate any future power projection.
So we've just completed a precise deep dive into this raw data. It clearly illustrates how Russia's record military personnel costs are enabling its current campaigns in Ukraine, yes, but despite truly significant losses. This data provides an unflinching basis for understanding the depth of their commitment.
It does, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really raises an important question for you, the decision maker, the strategic thinker, to consider. While this commercial contract for war appears effective for now in replenishing ranks despite extreme losses, what are the invisible costs, the long-term costs of such a strategy, beyond the immediate financial and human toll we've discussed?
What kind of invisible costs?
Think about Russia's societal fabric, its demographic future with so many young men lost or injured, its broader economic trajectory warped by this singular focus. These are the deeper trends, the ones that will shape not just the immediate battle space, but Russia's strategic posture for decades to come. And they demand your continued critical observation.